Welcome to the Browne Edition of the Collingwood Rant. I'm Sly.
And I'm Spook Browne. Not Charlie Brown, but Spook Browne.
So we're going to use the bye week to look at Jeff Browne's 7 motivations as to why he wants to be Collingwood president.
Well, this seems to be the big talking piece for the week. When did he lay this all on us?
A few days ago, he announced to the Herald Sun, behind the paywall, what the reasons were.
Can we read it? Because we're not behind a paywall.
No, we should be. So number one, I'm actually going to juggle these a little bit maybe. Number one.
Yep.
A botched miscalculation of the salary cap overseen by the current president as chairman of the finance committee.
Just the current president?
Just the current president. Just the current president.
All right. Okay. Well, yep. Tick. Can't argue with that one. Can you argue with it?
I'm going to try.
Okay.
I agree. This is a fucking schmozzle. From what I've heard and researched, talking to sources, a lot of this came up in 2017 when a certain football manager recruited big and juggled things, and there was a lot of back ending. I actually believe this probably goes back even further because when Treloar first arrived at the club in 2016, he was immediately back ending his contract, and he was back ending it during his whole time at Collingwood.
Well, we were coming off a massive period of success.
Yeah, we were. So the question was, who was president at that time?
Well, it wasn't you. And it wasn't me, and it wasn't Corder. Who does that leave? We've had a president for a while, I believe, haven't we?
Yeah, Ted Parker.
Ted Parker. In, so let's all throw daggers.
This salary cap stinks worse than Parker's pies. All right, and I agree. That was a fucking schmozzle. The bigger problem I have with this is a botched miscalculation. From what I've understood from sources, it wasn't a miscalculation. This was a calculated gamble. Eddie Maguire professes it was a strategy to keep this list together for contention. So it wasn't actually a miscalculation.
So he knew
it was by design.
Pre-2017 that we'd be contending.
Yeah.
Because
apparently.
We were trending that way, weren't we?
We were definitely trending.
I think, and I know a little bit about physics, that if you hurl an object hard and fast downwards, the energy absorbed by the impact will launch it back up.
Well, it certainly happened for the Disney Star Wars trilogy. Number 2, an undignified ejection of 4 very good players forced out because of the salary cap blunders. I've got listed here, not a blunder, it was a plan, blame Eddie. Look, no disrespect intended to Atu Bonsavelogi. I'm sorry, I can't get that name right. He's a young prospect. To say 4 very good players is a bit of a stretch at that time.
Well, it sounds more threatening than 3.
Yes, I guess that's true. Number 3, the botched appointment of a so-called director with no past passion for or engagement with Collingwood. Great, this is terrible.
I thought Eddie liked Collingwood.
No, we're talking about Bridie O'Donnell.
Oh, that one. Is she still around?
Yes.
She's still a thing.
But
has she been voted on yet?
I don't know. Isn't it ratified at the AGM if they go to AGM?
I don't understand any of this stuff anymore.
I don't understand. But this was the system that they set up. And I'm not excusing it, but I'm saying, fuck, they obviously were clueless and they just kept running with the system going, we'll appoint someone, and it's terrible. It was terrible. So I agree, because I don't want to make it out like we're biased and we're just going to fucking tear everything apart.
Although for 23 years, we as supporters never complained about it.
No, I think...
And we didn't complain about the bloke that went in a couple of weeks earlier either, did we? I don't remember complaining about it, do you?
No, we didn't complain about Murphy or any Lucuria or anyone.
Look, the important thing is we're complaining now.
Yes. It's the only time they've ever done it in the history of the club. Only time.
What, complained?
Appointed a so-called director with no past passion for or engagement with Collingwood.
Oh, fair enough.
In Bridie's defence, she did shit on Collingwood, so that is sort of passion engagement. It's just not the sort you probably want.
Yeah, I think it's poor form to shit on Collingwood. You leave it to the professionals.
Yes. The inherent instability that surrounds replacing a coach mid-season, an episode only saved significantly by the class and dignity of the coach himself.
When did this statement come out?
A few days ago.
When did Buckley leave?
A couple of weeks ago. And when did Browne announce his intentions to be president?
It was before Buckley left, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a couple of months before Buckley left.
Oh, that's okay. Revisionism, fine.
No, he's obviously
psychic. You need to have these moments.
He is. I'll tell you what my anointment. I should be anointed. My annoyance, my frustration.
One of your annoyances.
You're fucking so right. No one has ever sacked the coach mid-season. We're the first club to do it. And it's a fucking disgrace.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pioneering move. I mean, there was an audible gasp across the country when it happened.
I mean, how dare we sack a coach mid-season? And we didn't really give him a chance. 10 years in. It shouldn't, damn us, Collingwood. So I think that's pretty specious, that fucking criticism.
What species?
And I'm going to go to 6 and 7 before I come back to 5. 6, unprecedented low attendances at Collingwood home games at the MCG.
What about COVID?
I don't know. I think he probably thinks people just stopped going. I think you probably watched a Rant a couple of weeks ago when I joked that no one went to that Geelong match. And you thought, shit, he's got a point. Put this down!
It wouldn't have anything to do with ongoing poor performance either, would it? Where you don't tend to go. I mean, I'd love to go and watch shit films in the cinema that I know is going to be shit. Do you? I love it.
I can't be sarcastic.
Why do I keep coming back to the Disney Star Wars trilogy? I hear you all ponder.
Number 7, a devaluation of the Collingwood brand that has seen the broadcast of non-feature matches relegated to graveyard television broadcasting slots.
But hang on a second. How many other cellar dwellers are getting Friday and Saturday night games at the moment?
Oh, they're all getting.
Isn't this something to do with the way that the fixture is rolled out a couple of weeks before the games, and it's all dependent on who's up there and who isn't?
You know what annoys me about fucking this?
Everything?
Yes. Again, it should just be called the annoyance rate. How do you criticise the club for terminating Buckley mid-season and then criticise the club for shit performances on field? It's like, shouldn't you be congratulating the club for getting rid of the person responsible for the shit performances on the field, which then has the ramifications of low attendances and poor time slots?
I don't think that helps his cause.
That doesn't make sense to me. You can't have it both ways.
Mm.
You can have it one way or the other. You can fucking have it that, hey, I'll put up with shit performances because we should back the coach. Or, well done getting rid of the coach because he was leading to shit performances.
So we should have kept Buckley in for the rest of the year.
And put up with...
Stop the crowds not going and just... what? I still don't follow what I'm meant to be supporting here.
I don't know. It's just a conflict. And the final one of that was number 5. Apparent meetings with some supporters pledging long overdue improvement to member benefits and facilities offered amidst the plea not to give the members their right to elect a new board to represent them.
So it doesn't mention anything about brown bags of paper goods. Does it? Doesn't mention that?
No.
No, nothing?
No.
So the meetings, did you have to go and put your hand behind a cistern in the toilet?
Let's break some of this down. Apparent meetings with some supporters pledging long overdue improvements. Damn you, Corder! Why didn't you do anything 23 years ago? You were president back then, weren't you? Or 5 years ago.
It's a fair point, really, isn't it?
And fucking, how dare you? How dare you want to improve the lot of the members? Fucking hell. Offered amidst the plea. I don't know. Was there an actual plea given? I don't believe David Hatley was told it's this for that. I believe the club's still making those initiatives, even though the petition's still going forward. So there is no actual plea there as far as I'm aware. I wasn't in the backroom dealings of any of this, so I don't know.
I can only imagine that Corder was on his hands and knees kissing David Hatley's feet.
Oh, I forgot his name. I was thinking of the movie Barton Fink. So they're the 7 motivations and talking...
The 7 deadly motivations?
Yeah, we should get Kevin Spacey to play.
Corder?
Yeah. Guess who will get to play Browne? No, that answer that. Of these 7 things, I'm going to be honest. So the botched miscalculation of the Sorry totally agree.
Yep.
But...
Yep.
Is Browne saying that Eddie Maguire's going to be a patron? He's going to be used as a patron for...
I believe so. He's not going to be involved with the board. Let's be clear on that. He's going to be a patron off to the side. He's just going to stand there and
patronise. He's going to patronise
chocolate crackles to the people that they're wooing to bring sponsorship dollars back into the club and other patrony things.
Cool. Well, I don't say you can condemn the board but excuse Maguire. It's one or the other.
But Eddie's new to all this, isn't he? This patron role, he's never done it before.
No.
So is that as an excuse? He's 23 years in charge.
No, the guy who backed the succession plan.
I just noticed though, just looking at that list of 7, he doesn't seem to get named at all.
No, he
So
doesn't.
you're pretty much lambasting the club for a whole bunch of very realistically correct issues, but they're all Quarter's fault.
Yeah.
And he's been in the role, 24 years?
Quarter.
Yeah.
I spoke to David Hatley off camera, and he said when he went in to see Quarter was sitting in his plush recliner, and he had a pussycat, and he was just stroking it. And he said he didn't see Quarter from the head up. He was just always sort of out of frame slightly. And Quarter said, "Welcome, Mr. Hatley."
Take that chair. No, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, so I find that ridiculous.
It's not a conflict, though.
No.
I thought. I think it's just a patronage.
So
if it was a conflict of interest, you'd call it that, wouldn't you?
Collingwood doesn't have conflict of interest.
No.
The first two I totally agree. The salary cap thing was a fuck up. But to just not excusing the incumbent board, but to actually excuse or exclude Maguire from that criticism just doesn't fucking make sense to me.
No, I think we all well and truly accepted that Mr. Quarter was part of this for 14 years.
Yep. But having said that, and again, people go, "Oh well, the board of vest, they're complicit." And I've made that sort of criticism. I'm actually just curious how things were operating inside there. We don't know.
Well, that's it. We can only speculate.
Yep. The botched appointment of the so-called director, the Brody O'Donnell one, I agree, that was not good at all.
Look,
however, I will say, you say it first.
Well, no, I was going to say, look, and this person, I think we talked about this in the Rant once before, could be the most perfect fit in the perfect fitness of board members ever. It's the lack of due diligence around the history that's the failing here, that's ignited the ire of the supporter base.
Well, Collingwood's been doing this for 23 years. They've just been appointing...
Igniting the ire of the supporter base?
No, they've been doing that for 123 years. I'm talking about appointing board members who don't fit the criteria, but then getting them ratified at the AGMs. That's just been the standard of the way things have operated, as far as I understand.
But we apparently do vote for this.
But
we turn up to the AGM, we put our hands in the air. Or we do all those in favour, touch your toes, all those who say nay now.
Yeah, I believe we do that. But
that's what we do. That's the voting process.
Yes. Number 4, inherent instability of Australians in play. That's just bullshit. Clubs sack coaches. It happens. What would you rather, just back the coach in perpetuity? I mean, although Eddie Maguire was seeming to do that with Buckley, going 10 years in to try and prove that the succession plan was a success, it wasn't. Succession plan. If you take the success out of the succession plan, it's just a shun plan. Just shun. That's all he gave us, Maguire. Shun.
And if you take the shun out of it, it's just a suck.
Yeah. And the unprecedented low attendances and the devaluation of Collingwood, I agree, it's been shit. But again, you can't excuse the coach and you can't condemn the board for getting rid of the coach responsible for that. So they're really just fucking 1 point. This thing's really just 3 points. It's the salary cap, the shit around the game plan, which is contradictory, and the appointment of Bridie, and just, it's actually 4 things, sorry. It was 3.5. Apparent meetings with some supporters pledging overdue improvement. And look, I agree that, maybe the club has been tone or deaf or whatever, or ignorant, or
inability to read the room would be a good description of it.
And this should have all happened a lot earlier. And Eddie Maguire, who I'm just trying to speak carefully, who always wanted to come across as one of the people, one of the supporters, just the everyday.
Which one?
Or us guys who sit in the cheap seats. You're just like us,
Not these ones.
No, these are really good seats. He always wanted to come across the everyman at Collingwood, the everyman's president. I mean,
the boy from Broady.
Yeah, he always pushed that. I mean, I think he drove through Broady once. But he should have initiated a lot of this earlier. And again, that's not to excuse Court or anything like that, but just, you want to be the people's club, but then you just slowly push the people to the outer.
Do you maybe believe that all that bluster and hubris and all that sort of stuff was just,
sheer fucking hubris?
Yeah, it was sheer fucking hubris that he didn't believe that there was a problem out there.
No, well, he wanted to avoid all this. Like Batman.
Yeah.
Like, Michael Keaton. I tried to avoid this.
But I can't.
What do you think of the two parties at the moment?
Well, at least this is forward momentum. There's a lot of finger pointing there, but there's no solutions proffered. Is there another page of solutions that you haven't read that? That's it?
This is what I think of it.
So we've the easiest thing in the world, and we should know, we do it every week, is point the finger of blame at stuff. I would have thought if you were gunning for the role and you're going to take your own ticket in, you'd be starting to chip away at some sort of potential solutions or proffering some, so you could engage our enthusiasm. On the flip side, the silence of the club is deafening as well. Yeah. I would have thought this coming out a few days ago would have been worthy of a retort at least or something.
It's beyond the paywall.
Maybe Cordo doesn't subscribe to the Herald Sun.
You would be the only one.
Does anyone subscribe to the Herald Sun?
Mark Robinson. Mark Robinson's mum.
Would you shit your own? Would you
I read your article today.
Signed, Mark's mum. Would you shit in your own backyard and buy it?
Oh, no. No, I totally agree. Just out of curiosity, I don't know if a compromise is still on the table of taking Jeff Browne's potential board and taking the incumbent board. Do you think if they merge that, they'd improve two boards?
Simultaneously?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. I think
what do you want to see from, and besides potentially a third or fourth party, maybe even 80, what do you want to see from both challenger and incumbents?
A premiership?
Well, they're not going to deliver that. Although, Robert Harvey, thank you for lifting us one place in the ladder. We didn't even have to fucking play.
Almost two. I mean, we're 0.2% off being on top of Carlton.
He
I think I actually believe his game plan this week is not to turn up. Just sit back and watch the fixture unfold.
Well, then fucking Jeff
Brown
will criticise that. Now the team's not even turning up.
I heard Corder said that we're only 3 not turning up to the games away of the 8. That's how fast we're rising up with this new coach.
I think actually, because Carlton's doing their review, they might actually decide we should stop turning up too. What the fuck are we turning up for? What's happening? What's happening in this league? Richmond's winning 3 flags and who's on top of the ladder? Fucking Melbourne. What the fuck's going on?
Oh, they're the easy beats.
We smashed them. So from both boards, the incumbents and the challengers, can we maybe get like a bit of a vision? People tell me they don't need to outlay a vision until it goes to an EGM. Do you agree with that?
I would have thought any opportunity is a good opportunity as early as fucking possible to start putting your vision out there. Now, it's easy for Corder to sit there and keep pointing to the $18 million that we have in the bank or whatever it is, but, it doesn't tell you anything. I think he should be sitting there acknowledging the sins of the past, more than just a predetermined statement on that I went to a bulletin board for 5 minutes and read some angsty posts and responded to those. That's what it felt like. That there should be a complete acknowledgement that, look, we haven't fucking done things particularly well. However, though, we acknowledge the mistakes. We want to grow and be better. We really want you to come on board and be part of the ride. That this is Collingwood version 2.00, 468 million trillion quintillion. And this time we're going to get it right. It's something in the positives. I think all we've had so far is pretty much we're united as a board and we're not going to take this lying down. We're as mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore.
So do you think...
But that's it.
Do you think Corder and some of the board should dress like Twisted Sister and sing We're Not Going to Take It?
Well, that would be a start. At least it's an affirmative action.
I'll take any action at the moment.
But conversely, again, it's great to come out and scream and scrunch it all up. But again, there's just no outlining of what your plan is. So we're going to just go through another 4 months of silence and 16 more points a week of this went wrong over here, here, and here. But if it was me, I would have done this differently.
So we were talking about the salary cap since November, talking about the shit game plan, the depreciation of brand. For the last 3 years.
But none of this stuff in there is particularly surprising if you've been following Collingwood either.
Yeah, so should we be president?
Well, it's a possibility. Should we put a ticket together?
Because this, to me...
What's a ticket? What do you need? We just go to Coles and get one of those ticket things and just...
I don't know, you got to be a social club member unless it's waived.
Well, we're anti-social club members.
Oh, cool. It's a big, big fucking club. Why does this keep happening at Collingwood? So, in my time following Collingwood, 76 they imploded, 82, 83 they imploded. '86 they almost went bankrupt and imploded. '99 they imploded. They're imploding again. They almost went bankrupt in 2008, 2009 with the fucking beach hotel fiasco. Why does Collingwood keep imploding? It doesn't always go to an EGM, but the club often just implodes spectacularly, and then they have to clean up the mess.
This is that whole thing we've talked about ad infinitum, is that it's just never really successfully accepted that it's been a mediocre organisation for...
Since 1936.
80 years odd. You know, we're living so much in the past, we don't look at history and learn from it, and it becomes this self-perpetuating, repetitive cycle of history. It's like travelling back in the DeLorean.
Oh. He looked at history. What do you feel is the best way forward? Should we go to an EGM? Should they work out a compromise? Should one party have the other party assassinated, Sopranos or Godfather style? Where do we go from here? I mean, Guns N' Roses said it. Where do we go now?
Well, this is the difficult one. The fact that the...
Is the bloodletting the best way to go? Or should the club work out a... I mean, Eddie Maguire keeps promoting, get him to sit down in the room and get him to work this out. That's probably not going to work now because you're looking like Browne saying, I want to be president. And...
There's two clear factions that are going to be at war over this here. The logical thing would be to find a compromise, but clearly that's not something you use and the word logical and Collingwood in the same sentence. There's that faction. I don't know. When David made the announcement that he was pulling out of the
leading the petition. That's now being led by Vic Nicholas.
That there was some anger out there on in the socials. I think people felt a little bit betrayed that there was an opportunity here for them to express their opinion. You've given me a voice. What right do you have to pull out of that? Which is, in some respects, it's completely understandable. People are angry. There's no denying that. I think you want to agitate for change, but you just don't know the mechanism for it. And Collingwood have never really given you a mechanism to express your dissatisfaction with it. So I think once that sort of window of opportunity became unlocked, the likelihood of this happening just got greater and greater. I think there's been a number of splinter factions popping up since the David Hatley announcement, saying that if you don't want to do it, we will. Bulk of them probably seem to be insane, so it's hard to say whether that's a good idea to hand it over to what was there. I mean, it seemed to be tracking reasonably well with a minimal of fuss, and everything was being represented and orchestrated quite well. I believe Vic Nicholas has done a couple of little announcements that were worded well, so who knows? Which of those two outcomes would you like to see? Do you want it to go to the EGM, or would you like to see it resolved? And you can still potentially resolve this with an amicable outcome for all the people.
Can they?
In words are easy. Actions speak louder than. But I think the key thing out of the EGM is it's woken the club up. And
definitely.
Not so much with I've nudged you on the shoulder. This is a full-on slap to the face.
Yeah.
And naturally, they've been forced into a position where they've got to acknowledge that things were wrong, and they now have to react. Not quick enough for everybody's liking. You have then still the potential for, I've heard this all before. You've said this before, or you may say I'm going to do this, and then 6 years down the track, we're all wondering when the fuck it's going to start changing. It's a whole bunch of unknowns looking forward. You've got to try and pick the path of least resistance to fuck it up even further.
I think the club stands on a fucking cliff's edge, and it's not because of this. It's too easy to say it's because of Quarter and co. This goes back all the way to the Shin plan. That was the first fuck up.
That's the stake in the ground.
And there was, in our opinions, a definite backing of Buckley to prove that Shin plan was the right decision to make. And I've said it before, you go to 2017, which is the fourth year out of the finals, we recruited Chris Mayne and Daniel Wells and Lyndon Dunn, and we were paying a couple of them big money, and supporters going, what are we fucking doing? We've been out of the finals for years, we're recruiting a Wells, who was like 31, and Mayne was probably 27. We're putting him on big dollars, and then we'll shit anyway. And then Wells kept getting injured, and this is a club that has a terrible injury profile recruiting a guy who has a terrible injury profile and somehow expecting that to fucking work out. There's a lot of anger and unrest which has been building for many, many fucking years. And it actually irks me that Eddie Maguire still sort of walk around, you see him on the footy show, this is what I didn't want. It's like, well, you helped create it. You oversaw it. And we got to 2017, we always said 2018 was the fucking Band-Aid year, and once they've torn that Band-Aid off, everyone's just gone back to the 2-7 attitude, but you're now compounding or exacerbating that with the fucking trade debacle, the Do Better report, Eddie Maguire's press conference, all this sort of shit. And people are fucking super angry, and I actually don't even think that the course both parties are plotting is I reckon it could lead to annihilation. Because I sort of understand the logic of let's fucking tear the club down before we build it back up. But until you give us a plan, I don't know who the fuck to back. And this shit that I hear from people and they post it and all that, well, Jeff Browne doesn't have to say anything until the EGM. Well, it's like, why do we need to go to an EGM if he doesn't give us a fucking indication of why he'd be worth voting for? And this goes to the club too. Why should we back you, given we know you're the continuation of the Maguire admin? What's going to change? One of you, both of you, tell us, or a third party, come in and fucking just tell us something. Anything. I'm begging you. Give us something to fucking cling to.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is too that is Browne's not exactly a high profile supporter. He's 67 years old, I believe. How many years does he want to do this? And does that mean that the door is then open for Eddie to come back? And how many people actually want that again? Yeah, and you're going to have your loyalists who think he's the greatest thing ever, but now I'm not completely sure anymore that that's entirely the case. Are we inviting back more of the same? Because this is Collingwood's pattern. Can we change and take ourselves on a new course, or do we just reinvent the wheel and come back to that same starting point?
As far as Eddie Maguire goes, look, sorry Eddie, I don't want you back at the club. Okay, you had your time. It was 22 years or whatever the fuck it was. You had your time. Thank you for your service. Thank you for a lot of the great work you did. But only an idiot would say the last 10 years of smooth sailing. And that's not even looking at the Shen plan. I'm talking about, the gaffes he made, obviously the salary cap strategy and all that sort of shit. So, you had your time. Great. Thank you. Let's now move forward with someone totally new, or someone with a totally new vision who can actually fucking go, hey, this is where we're going to take the club. We don't need the previous president going in. If he goes back in as the president, it's like, well, what's the fucking point? If you go in as a board member, you obviously have a domineering personality, which is going to fucking dominate whoever the president is. Can we just move forward? These two, Browne and Corder, just fucking start telling us some stuff publicly. Tell us why you're going to be the people who are going to lead the club into its next era. That's all I want to know.
New Magpies.
New Magpies had a fucking vision. It didn't work out. They could have done it a lot better. But at least they came out and goes, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to buy players. We're going to drag the club into a professional area. Football's a fucking business now. Why are you still playing for the jumper? They could have done it a lot better, obviously. But, I've said this to people too, and this is sort of the one thing that makes me actually second guess Browne. And it's got nothing to do with Browne as a person, or, he could be the most brilliant businessman ever. He could have the greatest vision ever, which he's not telling us yet. But I look at 83, the New Magpies came in. 3 years later, were almost bankrupt. Alan McAllister was the treasurer at that time. So he was in control of the money, or he could see the money, and we almost went bankrupt. And he was then promoted to president. And for 3 and a bit years, that admin is still the best admin I've seen at Collingwood. And the reason it was the best admin I've seen at fucking Collingwood is because the club had been humbled. The banks had recommended you got to close your doors because you fucking just don't have money. Players that take a 20% pay cut. Jeff Rains, Mike Richardson bloody left. The club was just total waste. And they had no bragging rights anymore. Carlton Essendon were in front on flags. Members are fucking going down, all that sort of shit. So they just shut the fuck up, put their heads down. I'd never heard a peep from anyone in 3.5 years while we were rebuilding, and we built and won that premiership. And then once we fucking won that premiership, they just went back to the shit that they always do. So it should be a lesson. A lot of these things happen. Learn from fucking mistakes. Whoever's in charge, just learn.
And start being humble about it.
Yeah.
Stop the bluster. You're not convincing anyone. Everyone out there is angry at you.
Yep.
Be open and honest. Transparent.
Yes. That's what we want, transparency. Anyway, we're playing Fremantle this week. Robert Harvey coaches his first game after his brilliant debut last week, doing nothing. I
heard he's going to sleep in that day too.
Good on him. Good on him. Harves knows what it's about.
He goes, there's some good stuff coming out on Netflix Saturday afternoon. Back to my hotel room. We're playing interstate, obviously, aren't we?
We're playing, well, close. It's Marvel. And you get...
Well, we're not open anymore as a state, are we? Aren't we just completely... We're a wasteland?
I don't know what the fuck.
I saw Bane driving around once.
Hello!
I am Collingwood's Reckoning!
Yeah, fuck, you don't need to be Collingwood's Reckoning. They find a way to do it themselves. What's his name? Brendan Sanderson's been moved to become the defensive line coach.
Defensive or offensive?
Well, he might be the defensive line coach. Whichever Selwood we have, he's now the midfield coach. And there's about 19 of them, isn't there?
Like Selwoods. You can field aside.
No.
You could call it Sellingwood.
Yeah. So, Darcy Moore, PCL, guy on the season.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
You wouldn't have seen this coming a mile off, would you? That came as a great shock. I mean, I said it after the game to some other friends. Is there any fucking chance we can have one of these balls to the wall, amazing wins, and not have to fucking pay a price with a long-term injury? Does it ever happen?
You know what I love about Collingwood is like,
Not much.
Yeah, that's a good point. But they talk about more, after that game, so he's had a knock on the knee, we're going to send him for scans. You knew that way that was going to fucking turn out. What other way was that going to fucking turn out?
I heard at the scan place they didn't even bother turning the machine on.
And I really think
they put his leg over a photocopier.
It reminds me of probably a fucking Hot Shots when I forgot what his name, Pete, the guy who he crashed a plane, and then sort of the paramedics are trying to getting him into the back, and they're slamming his head into the door and shit like that. That's what I imagine happened with Moore. It's just a disaster. And the goalie's been suspended for 1 week because apparently you can't touch anyone on the football field anymore or scowl at them.
It was a pretty brutal hit though.
Yeah, it looked brutal. I mean, he got up and played the rest of the game and he was fine. So those two have to be replaced. Who's going to come in? Potentially Mark Keane.
Is there anyone left?
Or Mark Keane. Midfield-wise, I don't fucking know. It's
just a lottery, really. You just throw anyone at it. I'd actually probably Harvey, because he's not playing this week, so it doesn't really matter.
Who's that?
Harvey. He said we're not playing. He goes, we just keep climbing the ladder when we don't play.
Probably work.
So I think he said everyone's to stay at home.
So what's your tip?
Where are we playing? Marvel. Where we definitely playing here? Do we actually know anything anymore?
I think it's like 4:35 or something.
We haven't played any games in Victoria for a couple of weeks. Why are we starting now? Has there been an announcement? I don't follow any of this stuff anymore.
I don't follow it either.
Okay, so we assume that we're playing...
There's a really deadly variant of COVID out there, though. It's horrific.
Well, I just hope, if we play at Marvel, that we observe all the correct social distancing parameters and stick 17,000 people on the one seat.
Well,
like the fucking sheer genius that we observed out at Condidia Park. Or what's it called this week? Skilled Stadium or something? Or
but that's because a lot of Geelong fans are conjoined.
COVID cluster or something? Is that the name of the place?
GMBHY.
No, and you actually wonder why we don't take any of this stuff seriously as a public. No, we're not talking Collingwood here. So yeah, hopefully there are people allowed to go. Was it a lottery? Do you have to put together a ticket? Keeps coming back to the ticket.
The ticket.
Do you have to put together a ticket and say, I want to go to Marvel Stadium on the weekend, please? Browne and Corder will be there. What they should do is put a ring into the middle of the...
Like two tribes. Frank goes to Hollywood.
And let them duke it out.
That'd be cool. I'd fucking pay to see that.
And then have Frankie goes to Hollywood. Because, I mean, they play some incredibly shit music during the games to represent something. Maybe put that power to good use.
It's a good idea.
Let's get the social media guy to do it. He seems pretty switched on.
Yeah, switched on to something.
He'd like Frankie Goes to Hollywood, I believe.
Well, Fox Footy or whatever the fuck did the news on
Fox Footy or whatever the fuck. How did you miss that naming opportunity, Fox Footy? Let's go watch Fox Footy or what the fuck tonight, because there's nothing on Fox Footy. Oh, fuck off.
Yeah, well, I think it was them anyway, but they had a fucking article about Harvey moving Sanderson, and the picture they used...
literally just make sure he's still alive.
The picture they had, like...
Is there any chance you might do some form of coaching?
The picture they had was like Harvey had some footballs and he had like just
Was he laughing in it? They're always laughing when
No,
they hold the balls.
he's always got that sort of introspective look, and there was a few players there
Maybe
standing on the
he's gonna
periphery.
do some juggling or something.
He looked like he was going to do that, but one of the players is Goldsack. It was like, okay, that's a current picture. New coach of Collingwood. The players in there is Goldsack. Well done, whoever the fuck whoever ran that story. I don't know. I don't get
I saw a picture of Wiedemann picking the ball up.
I saw. I don't care. So your tip?
Gad will lightning strike twice. I wouldn't have thought so.
Oh, I'm going to go for Collingwood because I believe in halves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going
All right,
to get a T-shirt that says I believe in halves.
You convinced me. Everything's fixed now. Collingwood, is that what they're called now? Collingwood?
25
by
points.
3 points. 3
25.
points.
All right,
3 points for me. Go Pies.
I go for Collingwood by 25 points.
Yeah.
Yep.
By which 25 points would they be?
Collingwood will finish the game
I think
4-2 to Fremantle 1 point.
Let me retry this joke. I think Browns tipped them by 7 points.
Anyway, that's it from us. Subscribe, like, comment, that sort of thing.
Get a ticket together.
Get a ticket. We should form the Rant party.
I think we should.
You know,
I can't see where it could go wrong.
can't see where we could go right. Oh, what would be your first change if you went in as president?
I'd make all the uniforms out of cotton.
What is that?
You remember Seinfeld with George Reed the Yankees with cotton?
Yeah.
They got it.
Okay. Anyway, that's it from us. Later.
Catch.